Hello, my name is Rostan, and I am going to give a brief overview video about my journey in IT, as I think it is worth sharing. This will be an important step in documenting my work and experiences, and it could be of importance to you as an employer, or if you have a business and you are interested in future collaboration or service. It could also benefit you as a student in IT, as I share a couple of insights here and there. My fields of expertise and the fields I will be talking about in this video are mainly, but not limited to, Linux system administration, embedded systems, data science, applied AI, machine learning operations, and graphics programming. There will be a lot to cover, so I will try to be as concise as possible and only share with you the notable aspects of each field. I am also the team leader for Minimal, a team based in the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center at my university, Yarmouk University. My team consists of the best data science and AI students at YU, and we work on building applications for instructors, researchers, and students in all fields. Our goal, or function if you may, is to make the process of utilizing data science and AI simple and minimal for those who have no technical background, or those who need the time to focus on their specific domain rather than learn a new technology. We also make courses in data science operations and machine learning operations. Our courses focus on the full pipeline of launching real-life applications rather than being limited to theoretical knowledge. And yeah, about Yarmouk University, I am currently pursuing a Bachelor's of Technology in Data Science and Artificial Intelligence, expecting to graduate in summer of 2025. My degree course is mainly interested in teaching the fundamentals of each field, which I have learned by myself fairly early and quickly. Now, I use my time at the university to revise my knowledge and guide other students, while I am doing the fun and interesting stuff at my own time. And so I will focus this talk on that interesting stuff. I will talk about my journey in IT in a hopefully short and concise story/series of events. So let us start with my first actually deep interactions with computers. One of my first exposures to Unix-derived systems is actually a funny story. You see, I had a PlayStation 4 when I was in middle school. The PlayStation 4 runs Orbis OS, which is based on FreeBSD, a Unix-like operating system created by the company Sony. What I did back then was jailbreaking the device and booting a Linux kernel instead of the FreeBSD kernel. And with the help of open source drivers made by enthusiasts online, I was able to run Fedora Linux, which in turn enabled me to turn my PlayStation 4 into a general-purpose computer system rather than a dedicated gaming machine. The keyword here is jailbroken. This, while seeming insignificant, was the jailbreaking stage of my journey, where I got to know that there is a world of possibilities lying ahead. My second exposure to Unix-like systems was Android. Now, Android itself is running on a Linux kernel. Rooting my Android phone enabled me to make some tweaks here and there and add some sweet functionalities to it by running third-party firmware. Again, the keyword here is rooted. That was a rather simple achievement, but more importantly, my interests became rooted in technology, and then I had a desire for understanding how things work behind the curtains. However, and after breaking some limits on my console and smartphone, I wanted the taste for the real thing, that is, Linux. One day, I got fed up with the lack of control in Windows, and with little hesitation, I wiped out my entire hard drive and jumped right into Linux. I started with a minimal installation of Arch Linux, a distribution known for its bare-bone installation and manual configuration. And that was exactly what I wanted after all, controlling my systems, not the other way around. Sure, I broke the system once or twice, but every time was a lesson learned. An even bigger lesson, and a lesson I like sharing with my peers, was to not be afraid of breaking your tools, but instead praise yourself for doing so. You actually want things to be breaking early, especially when you do not understand how something actually works. Finding my weaknesses opened my eyes to skills and knowledge that I need to be acquiring right now, or else my computer system will be rendered useless. So break your tools. This has helped me, and I think it can help you in your journey as well. A year and a half later, Arch Linux taught me a lot, and after that, I started running Linux on all of my machines as a daily driver. Embedded, desktop, server, mobile programming, and more. different distributions depending on the case, of course. Namely, and as of now, Arch Linux for 1.5 years, Debian for 1 year now. It is currently my main operating system. I'm actually recording from it right now. Fedora Linux, Ubuntu, and Raspberry Pi OS for a variety of projects. So I can say that Linux is what powered many of my projects. For example, I set up a Debian Linux server with a GPU for the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center at my university, using exclusively open source software. I utilized Nginx, HTTPS, Jupyter Hub, Python's and Julia's scientific packages, and more. It is now, in turn, being utilized by students and researchers in a variety of fields and majors. For GANs, computer vision, deep learning, you name it. Now, to one of my favorite topics to talk about, free and open source software. Of course, free as in freedom and not money. So Linux has also exposed me to open source software and its importance for society. Nowadays, I try to exclusively use open source software, mainly for privacy reasons, but also as a social duty. This is rather a huge topic, and it can turn into a video of its own. I might actually do that one day. And of course, open source software is generally genuinely superior. This is mainly for its configurability, and control only comes with configurability. Meaning, if you do not like something in a piece of software, you can go and change it yourself by contributing to its development. And yet another of my favorite topics to talk about is C. After all, it is the first letter of the words control and configurability, and that actually carries some weight. Using Linux aided me in learning C programming, as I had to set up and configure my system, and even write my own tools a lot of the time. After starting with Linux, I could safely say that I will never turn back to Windows, unless I am developing a commercial application for it, of course. Now, let us move on to embedded systems. I think that understanding the low-level processes on the hardware and operating system levels, as well as how memory works from a constrained point of view, is essential for writing better software with high performance. And that made me appreciate low-level programming with C. I have worked with ESP32 microcontrollers and the ESP-IDF, an IoT development framework in C. It runs FreeRTOS, an open-source real-time operating system, and in my personal time, I used it in a health monitor software demo for a secure centralized healthcare system in hospitals. This was as part of Smart Digital Platforms, Cloud Computing, Big Data and Security course at Mälardalen University in Sweden. So I used the ESP32s as sensory data nodes, while the central system used Flask, MongoDB, Streamlit, and Docker. What was I doing in Sweden? Well, I was there for a semester as part of a scholarship and exchange program called Erasmus+. This was my second exchange program, as I had studied in the United States for 1 school year prior in high school as part of the Kennedy Lugar Youth Exchange and Study Program and Scholarship provided by the US Department of State. I love cultural exchange and the development it brings to education, industries, and society as a whole. I can talk about these amazing and eye-opening opportunities in a separate video and how they have contributed immensely in shaping my present and my future. So regarding the ESP-IDF, I am also currently working with this same development framework in a commercial home automation and metering system. This is a contract work for a startup here in Jordan. And in the field of embedded systems, I have also worked with the Pixhawk 6X flight controller and Raspberry Pi companion computer for a drone system that is connected to a ground vehicle. This was part of Applied Artificial Intelligence training course at ABB Robotics, an automation company in Sweden. The work was sponsored by Volvo CE, Alstom, and more amazing companies. That took place in Sweden as well. Within it, I led the development of the project using C, C++, and Python. And with the help of experts in the domain, my team and I wrote a report that explained the motivation, research questions, and methodology, and documented our results. Without getting into much details, the motivation is an autonomous drone that can aid an autonomous ground vehicle in its autonomy. It does that by collecting image data that can be used to make better decisions, especially in construction and mountainous terrains. which fits pretty nicely in the in Volvo's CE working environment. So the field of embedded systems is where my projects got actuated and started to have real-world effects and results. Now I will talk briefly about my simulation and analysis experience. I worked on a simulated thermal model of a house in MATLAB. It simulates the change in temperature of the house depending on the weather outside, heat loss, and heat gain from a virtual heater. But personally, I prefer open platforms, so I converted the whole simulation to pure C code for extended control. I will talk about the effects of which in a bit. Now let us talk about what has taken the world by storm, AI. I have written a simple machine learning framework in C++ from scratch. That means zero libraries. It utilizes SIMD instructions for parallel processing on Intel architecture. I have also written a simple feed-forward neural network deep learning framework in C, as I favor it to C++ by a long mile. It is also written from scratch. And I wrote a computer vision library in C from scratch as well, that is also multi-threaded. I was able to do that after I gained some experience with OpenCV in C++ and Python, and that enabled the drone that I talked about earlier to detect a target on the ground vehicle, which then, with the use of reinforcement learning, was able to track and follow the ground vehicle in its missions. Here are some pictures that showcase this in simulation environments. I then carried my experience in reinforcement learning to the house thermal model simulated environment in my C program, and made a smart thermometer and controller for maintaining a set house temperature regardless of the weather conditions outside. MATLAB is fine, but adding such functionalities to it would have been quirky, to say the least, as I would have to download some packages, figure out where things should go, and then plug and play. And in the end, I will not have learned so much. So you see why I love the C programming language. By using it, I am able to learn the intricacies of domains rather than shell/surface knowledge. AI allowed me to automate many tasks in my projects, and performance AI allowed me to automate in the embedded realm. In whatever I was doing, there was always something missing. It was graphics. So I set the goal to learn Flutter and cross-platform mobile application development. And what better way to do that than a competition on the way? And so, with a close friend and the guidance of an experienced instructor at YU, I participated in a national competition for developing governmental applications, the Crown Prince Award for Best Government Service Application. Our application was in the field of healthcare, so we started collaborating with the Jordanian Ministry of Health, and the final result was iHeal, or Ta'afi, an application that employs computer vision, deep learning, and IoT to detect and classify tens of illnesses and injuries, and then help in the healing process by providing necessary first aid instructions. We worked tirelessly for 6 months and presented our solution in various occasions, once in the presence of the Minister of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship. In the end, we were amongst the top 10 teams and won an incubation program provided by the government. Programming in Dart, the language that powers the Flutter framework, was a breath of fresh air because of its graphical capabilities. But I think it is clear now that getting locked in a system with little control is not my thing. And so, I have recently embarked on the journey to build my own set of libraries and tools that will allow me to realize my ideas. And I am doing all of that in C, specifically the C99 standard. The reason is that I want my programs to be performant and to run virtually anywhere. And there is no better language to do that than good old C. I have already written the following libraries: a platform layer for specialized operating system functionalities such as multi-threading, time system, file system, shared memory, etc. It currently supports Linux, BSD, and macOS systems, as well as Windows systems, so that has already been done. And a graphical platform layer for opening graphical displays, displaying basic graphics, reading input, and handling user events, and so on. This also has already been done. And now, building on top of these layers, I am working on my graphics engine that will be used to power most of my future development. It uses Vulkan, a graphics API, to utilize GPUs and specialized processors for efficient and performant computations. These libraries will be used for anything from graphical user interfaces to video games and 3D graphics. So what is next? After my graduation, I will contribute with my knowledge and expertise to the infrastructure that powers the modern world. I am mainly focusing on the underlying technologies that everything is built from, as well as designing and building systems and tools for professionals. I have already started working as an independent contractor, building custom solutions for businesses, as well as researchers, using my set of libraries and tools built from the ground up. And I will also be open to jobs in the aforementioned fields to empower growing companies, as well as further advance my career in IT. It is important to note that this video is being recorded on June 27th, 2024. All of my opinions and experiences gained from my journey will only represent the time frame for this date. Who knows what great adventures I will have embarked on afterward and how they change my opinions. You can reach out to me on most social media platforms at Elrostan. That's my handle, and thank you for watching.